There was a time when the art of personal branding for individual entrepreneurs or experts was unheard of. It was something that was reserved only for the multinational organizations or celebrities. Fast forward to current times, and the art of building a personal brand is one of the most crucial aspects of any individual's career growth. Now, nearly anyone who is willing to put in the time and effort to package their expertise and share it with those who need it can don the hat of a thought leader and scale up their personal brand. Today we have with us Mr. Phil Bedford. Phil's a business coach and relationship marketing expert whose background is as diverse as it is impressive. He is part of the BNI network and has direct hands-on experience of coaching and mentoring thousands of small businesses. He has also published two books, Seven Deadly Startup Sins and Kiss the Rebel, which is a guide on how to unleash a business and life without limits. Phil, it's an honor to have you with us today. Thank you for taking the time to join me.
Pleasure to be here.
Right. So, Phil, I want to get started right away. You are a business coach and a marketing expert and a thought leader in the startup and business space right now. But you started your career in recruitment, if I'm not mistaken. Before moving on to real estate and other industries. Can you shed some light on your career trajectory so far?
So, well, I like to say I escaped from civil engineering. So I actually did a master's degree and a bachelor's in engineering, but decided it wasn't for me. So I kind of fell into sales because there was a recession, nothing was going on. So I did 5 years in recruitment in the UK, moved to Dubai, 5 years in exhibition stand sales, then 5 years in real estate. But during that period, I actually started my own businesses, which was a dance business, a salsa dance business, a kite surfing, coaching and sales of equipment business. And then also became involved in BNI as a director consultant, building chapters and stuff. And then it all moved into the Ascentive and the Rebel Networker thing as well. So that's kind of been my journey.
Right. Of course, talking about your journey, you've had various levels of accomplishment in each of these industries that you've actually been part of. So I guess the one underlying factor that sort of helped you excel in each of these industries is probably your skill as a networker, right? So how would you say this has helped you build your career up and also by virtue of that, your personal brand as well?
Yeah, it's a very good question, actually. I actually didn't realize that it was my networking that was helping me. Like a lot of people, they're a little bit oblivious to the power of relationships and networking. So actually, when I was in the recruitment, when I was in the exhibition, when I was in the real estate, in all those companies, I had a job. And in those positions, I was the top salesperson.
Right.
But I never did cold calling, and I'd never attended sales training. And what turned out was, I found out a couple of years later when I got involved with the BNI, that actually what I'd been doing was networking.
Right.
What I've been doing was getting referrals from clients, but I didn't have a name to give it. I just knew I was successful. And it wasn't until I got involved with the BNI that oh, okay, that's what I've been doing. I've been doing that. And then oddly enough, my salsa business, I recognized the fact that I was filling my rooms again through networking, referrals, and in those days, no social media.
Right.
In those days, I'd finish a salsa move and I didn't even have a phone to take a video of it. I was writing down the moves on a piece of paper. So, we didn't even have social media then. So it was even more important. So that I think has been the key to everything I've ever done. But here's the thing. If I could go, I had no idea how little I knew. So even though I was successful and I recognized I was doing it by networking, I was the top salesperson. I think this is where a lot of business people are. They kind of know that relationships, networking, referrals are important, and they may even have some level of success. But it's the challenge is that people stop at good. They don't get to great. They don't recognize the fact that actually this is a science. This is like, you've just learned to drive a car and then you stop there. You could go for advanced training, you can go for advanced driving skills, and then you can do all these other wondrous things. And I think that would be my message to anyone, is just open yourself to recognizing that there's so much more you can do with it.
Right. And it's also really critical, since you were able to identify your primary skill, and when you did identify that, networking was your primary skill, you took it up a whole notch and you sort of built your whole personal brand around it, right? You used it to build your personal brand, rather, as a thought leader in the startup space. But you still, that was your core skill that you actually used, right? And for thought leaders, I guess it is extremely critical to take their expertise and the knowledge in the field that they're in and sort of use that to help other people as well. So it's important to realize what they're really good at, and it's also important equally to package that their skill and help other people with it, because that's when they sort of like people can kick it up a notch and actually don the hat of a thought leader, right? So do you think, given that, do you think that publishing a book is almost a necessity for thought leaders these days to sort of help reach a larger audience and expose their ideas and their expertise and help other people as well?
Okay, so there's quickly, let me just say two things. First of all, networking is not my natural strength. A lot of people think I am a natural networker, and I'm actually not. I'm a situational extrovert, which means I can do it if I have to, but I'm quite happy to be the guy who sat in the corner not talking. However, what I did have was my strength is being able to explain how to do it. Okay, right. So I've always been good at training. I've always been good at coaching. I've always been. So the thing is, yes, what I do is I enjoy people. And I enjoy being relevant, and that fell into the networking, but I'm not a natural networker, even though I do enjoy it. Right. I enjoy the relationship. So my skill was in the explanation of how to apply it and how to do it. So what I would say is that particularly is worth knowing, because it might give people a little bit of hope if they're not natural networkers. In fact, some of the most natural people out there at networking are not the best. And some of the least natural are the best. And oddly enough, a lot of people that will end up writing books tend to write books because they're introverts. So networking is completely on the other spectrum to where they think they need to be. The other thing is, in regards to publishing a book, I agree with you 100% on a number of notes. And one thing I would say to somebody is, just because you're not necessarily talented at writing or necessarily good at the written word shouldn't stop you from publishing. So number one, I failed English language and English literature at school.
Wow.
Okay, my grammar was atrocious. So what I did is I have the knowledge. So what I did was reach out to my network to find people who could help me. So I put the knowledge on paper, and then someone else checked my grammar and checked this. So there's resources you can use to help you write the book if that's what's stopping you. Number one, as long as you've got the thoughts, right? And I also recognize that I hated the details, and putting everything together wasn't for me. So this is where somebody like yourselves come along, right? If someone's got the idea, but it's just like all the little stuff is just annoying, right, that's perfect, right? So someone else can do that, and you can just be the brain. So perfect. But yeah, I mean, having a book, really, I think, unless you're going to be J.K. Rowling's or you're going to be Jack Canfield, don't expect to earn a lot of money from the book itself. You might earn a pittance, but you're probably not going to cover the amount of time, effort, and the money in doing and paying for this. Really, in my perspective, having a book is a brand builder, and I think that is the key reason for having a book. You can go into a client, and it's like having a very special business card. Instead of a little piece of paper, you're saying, well, by the way, here's my #1 Amazon bestseller. Oh, absolutely. Hold on a second, and or if you're going to start speaking, again, if you want to be paid as a speaker and you can turn around, you've got 1, 2, 3, 4 books, you're going to get paid as a speaker. Whereas if you don't have any books, you're just another person speaking. So I think personally, that the whole publishing a book is #1 about your brand. It's not about writing a book.
Absolutely.
It's what you do with that book. Yeah.
Exactly. And, the concept of using a book as a business card is really catching on in the thought leader circles as well. And, some people even say it's the only business card that people actually pay you for, right? It's the only business card that does that. So personally, though, how has publishing a book helped you personally to scale up your brand as a thought leader in the startup space as a business coach?
So do you know what I think? Okay, so it's definitely helped me. It's definitely good when I can turn around on all my social media and say #1 best-selling Amazon author. I mean, that doesn't hurt, right? That's
Credibility.
never going to hurt. Yeah, but you have to make sure you shout about that. So you put it on your social media, you put LinkedIn, Facebook. You know, you've got the book. You know, other authors speak to other authors, so you start to network at a higher level of individual in terms of their brand. So that really doesn't hurt. But I think with any kind of branding exercise, a lot of it is you kind of just got to do it, because you don't know if and when it's going to come back and pay for itself.
Absolutely, yeah.
All you know is if you don't do it, you get nothing. So I think you have to kind of understand the reason for this, and it's a little bit like a hope and spray. You know, you kind of got to do it, but you never know when it will come back. But you 100% you lose 100% of the opportunities you don't try for.
It's like building a business, right? You have to do all the little small things, in terms of like putting your business out there, in terms of marketing, in terms of referrals. You can't just hope to do just a couple of things you're really good at and hope that that will like really work out. So the entire framework, it's like almost building a business, building a brand, right?
Yeah, you're right. And in fact, I think, I see some authors, when they launch their book, they go and spend the next 6 months promoting the book. After they've hit #1, after they've done well, but this is what I think is a little bit, and I appreciate selling books is great and all that. But once you've hit that #1 space, you should then be promoting your brand as a speaker or promoting yourself as an expert, which means you get lots of money. Exactly. And unfortunately, I think a lot of people, they go and spend all their time promoting books, trying to get, on a couple of hundred rupees here, there, and everywhere, when they should be using the book to get the big earners. So right. I think it's also a matter of, once you've hit that, then go and focus on the big stuff. Don't think about it trying to make money on your book.
And it's something that will come after. It's also something that's really catching on. In fact, like using a book as a lead magnet, right? You're reaching out to a lot of people by virtue of just publishing a book and it being in the markets. And, maybe a small percentage of them will actually end up being your client. And, linking your book with your business and exposing your knowledge like that is all, you already built your credibility by anyone who reads the book knows that you're an expert now. And it's a whole lot easier for them to sort of just give them your business.
Yeah, sign up. Particularly if you're in the coaching consulting space where you're talking about service rather than product.
Exactly.
And when you're in that space, people haven't got something they can touch, feel. Ultimately they believe you or don't believe you based on what you say. So a book certainly helps because there's something they can hold. But also it can become part of your funnel, a big part of your sales funnel. So people meet you online, they got your free tips. The first part of the funnel is your first chapter for free, and then maybe they buy the book, and then it becomes part of I've paid one little bit for him, then I might pay a course, then I might go on this. So it becomes a great tool for your funnel, and it also gives something for you to aim all your social media at. If you're contact gathering on social media, you need to be able to drive them to a next step, and in fact that next step could be my book, which is a really, really low. So it's all part of the game.
And it also gives you a lot of lower conversion points, right? Instead of going directly for the biggest conversion, like with the big money, signing up the big money clients, you have lower conversion points where they can like get used to who you are, what you have to offer, and you have that credibility built, and you slowly nudge them sort of to convert for your course or your consultancy and so on. So I guess that also like works perfectly.
It is, and I think we all need to understand as well, not every client can afford to work with us.
Yeah.
So if we are passionate about making a difference, then having something at a price point that nearly anybody can afford is also a way of helping the people that can't necessarily work with us. So it means you can help at every level. And by the way, you never know when that book's going to get shown to someone else, or if someone's going to see it on a book, or so it's just casting that net and see what happens, right?
It's also one of the reasons why we tell our authors to always have a copy of their book at hand whenever they step out of their house. You never know who you're going to meet. We had an instance where one of our authors, she wrote a book on finance, and she happened to meet the finance minister of India in the airport once. And she could like show her the book, take a photo with her, put it up on social media, and so on. So that's something that we actually tell our authors: always carry a copy of your book around because you never know who you're going to meet.
That's really cool. In fact, there's nothing to stop you actually buying them the book on Amazon or even through your portal, right? You could gift the book, digitally. It doesn't have to be. So there's plenty of ways of making sure they get it.
Right. So finally, I want to ask you, when it comes to the art of personal branding, what are some of the things that you paid particular attention to that you think would help some of our viewers here who are also in the process of like building their own personal brand, publishing a book, and scaling up their career?
I think the big one for me is, once you're an expert online, you've got to be an expert offline. If you're credible online, you've got to be credible offline. I've seen too many people who step off the stage. They're brilliant on the stage. They get off the stage and they're a complete horrible person. And they'll stand there and talk about how you have to be friendly, this, that, the other, get off, and they're horrible. So you've got to be the same at both ends.
Absolutely.
And so small things, I think, like treating everybody with respect. Understanding that everybody's different, respecting other people's time, so be on time, reply to emails, reply to phone calls, respecting other people, and I think that's a big way forward. I think one of the things I've learned from living in the Middle East is, one of the biggest mistakes I made when I first came here was I honestly thought that the way I did business was the right way to do it. And when you're surrounded by 200 other nationalities, you suddenly realize there's 200 other nationalities, all who believe the way they do business is the right way to do business. So it's and that comes from things like, just the way you communicate, the way you haggle, the way the way you treat people. You just have to, at the end of the day, I think, learn and just be a little bit flexible.
Well, Phil, thank you so much for joining me today. It was a fascinating experience to learn the intricacies behind the art of personal branding from you. And I'm sure our viewers also enjoyed it. Thank you so much for joining me once again. I hope to connect with you soon some other time.
Hey, my pleasure. Take care, guys.
Thank you.